John the Mouse. The Farm and Ranch Building, in memory of the town site founders and cowboys who staked claims for the city. The last great Panhandle cattle drive to Montana. After 1880, each spring and summer, many Texas herds went up the trail to the northern states for fattening. The trail thrilled and challenged cowboys who went hungry, thirsty, and saddle sore, bridged or swam the rivers, forged quicksand streams, turned stampedes, fought Indians, thieves, and trail town toughs. The last great Texas Panhandle drive was organized here at the NBARN headquarters. Ranch manager was J.L. Harrison. Trail boss, T.L. Tom Coffey. 100 cowboys drove 10 herds, each with 2,500 cattle, or a total of 25,000 beehives, to Montana. This range belonged to the White Deer Land Company. The NBARN outfit left because White Deer Land Company wanted the range cleared of large herds by 1907. The 650,000 acres of its land was offered for sale to small ranchers and farmers. It was fenced and the steam plow introduced to turn the rich grassy sod. A butterfly collection. Moody Exhibit Hall, dedicated to those who will build the future in memory of those who built in the past. Donated to the Square House Museum by the Moody Foundation of Galveston, 1971. Red-tailed hawk, immature. Ringneck pheasant, male. Lesser prairie chicken, female. Broadwing hawk, immature. Raccoon, lesser prairie chicken, female. Bobcat, western diamondback rattlesnake. Red-tailed hawk, great blue heron immature. Redhead male, long-billed curlew. Wood duck male, American bittern. Red-winged blackbird male. American crow, American robin, western diamondback rattlesnake, hornet's nest, family, Swenson's hawk, immature, box turtle shell. Snow goose, blue phase, snow goose, white phase, beaver, American black duck, female, mallard, female, mallard, male, northern shoveler, male, greater yellow legs, king rail, eastern fox squirrel, American crezel, male, blue jay, red belly woodpecker, female, cedar waxwing, American badger, northern bobwhite, ringneck pheasant, male, greater roadrunner, common long-nosed armadillo, ruffled grouse, domestic turkey male, quail, spotted skunk, eastern cottontail, porcupine, barred owl, great horned owl, Virginia possum, barn owl, scald quail. The Plains' first toolmaker, Panhandle Pueblo dweller, 800 AD to 1300 AD. Flint from Albate's original foundation stones and materials from 1100 AD Pueblo site on the Canadian River, excavated 1971. Indian, certified by O.T. Baker, University of Texas. Gray fox. Pronghorn male. A butterfly collection and tons of beetles. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Home life. Pioneers were thrifty people. More than one child wore each garment. The velvet suit worn by James S. Harrison in 1892 was worn by his son, James H. Harrison. Bill of sale. And the newspaper, the Kansas City Star. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. The Good Life. The Ranch Life. A man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's heaven for? Robert Browning. It is difficult to say what is impossible, for the dream of yesterday is the hope of today and the reality of tomorrow. Robert H. Goddard. Some books from the local authors. Man the Music Maker, Mightier Than the Sword, All the World's a Stage. Holy Mother Earth, the trees and all nature are witnesses of your thoughts and deeds. Continuing intrusion into the southern plains by white people, and especially the killing of the buffalo, ignited smoldering Indian resentment into fierce resistance, which in turn invoked military response from the United States. The Red River War, 1874. Buffalo Wallow Fight, September 10th. Lyman's Wagon Train, September 10th through the 14th. Westward expansion continued an ancient clash of invading Euro-Americans and the American Indians. The two cultures poles apart in their definition of freedom and with little appreciation for each other, contested violently for the possession of the continent. The Reed Loom Company was started in the late 1800s in Springfield, Ohio, by F.C. Reed. For those who wanted a less expensive loom, the company offered the ideal, weaving up to 36 inches wide without the automatic change device, or the Little Dandy, weaving up to 30 inches wide. Both were two-shaft looms. This teller windows came from the First State Bank of the Panhandle, founded in 1927 in response to the oil boom in Carson County. The roll-up top desk belongs to the bank's president, Charles Edgar. During the 1930s, he pursued some men who robbed the bank and stopped them near Boyer, where he disarmed them before law officers arrived. The West's natural wealth, free for the taking, sustained diverse economic expansion, but nowhere more dramatically than in the free grass cattle industry. Self-propelled machinery, chemical, fertilizers, and irrigation brought farming into the technological world. Industrial production of tools enabled the white farmer to break sod, produce food beyond his immediate needs, and to turn farming from a way of life into a business enterprise. For about 350 years, horses provide personal transportation in America and bridge the gap between the foot traffic and the iron horses of steam, gasoline, and jet engines. In the 14th and 15th centuries, unique apartment-dwelling Indians in the Canadian River Valley combined hunting of deer, bison, and antelope with corn horticulture. Industrial man mastered nature and thought to himself no longer subject to it through science which provided firearms, axes, plows, and a host of other tools. Man in his times, Panhandle plainsman, 12,000 BC to 1978 AD.
Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of
Our
speech,
rights,
or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of
religion and churches.
2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of
Education
the people
in schools.
to bear arms shall not be infringed. 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner.
Upon becoming the 28th American state, Texas retained title to its public land. Following the practices of Spain, Mexico, and the Republic, the state underwrote many public interest endeavors with its 150 million acre public domain. 40 million acres were distributed to settlers. 52 million acres was for the public education. 32 million acres subsidized railroad construction. To save walking and measuring with a chain, ranchers and farmers devised a simple procedure of measuring out their land by dividing the circumference of a wagon wheel into the distance to be marked, then taking a rag or a bandana on the wheel and driving the wagon along the desired line and counting the number of revolutions of the wheel as the rag passed it.
Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself.
Inalienable rights
Deprived of life, liberty, or property, without due
in land
process of law.
and home.
Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the
Bill of
crime shall
Rights.
have been committed,
The rights of the
which
people
district
shall not be
have been
infringed.
previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
Homemade antique quilts are on the wall.
$20. The right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. 8. Excessive bail
More
shall
typical
not be
items
applied,
you'd find in a
nor
house.
excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively.
Remember these old telephones and a switchboard.
End of the United States Bill of Rights. This recording is in the public domain.
The Square House. The Niedringhaus brothers of St. Louis sent lumber by ox cart from Dodge City and built the Square House on their N Bar N Ranch here in Carson County in the mid-1880s. In 1887, a railroad official occupied the Pioneer Cottage while the Southern Kansas Railway was being extended from Kansas to the Panhandle City. This was later the home of some distinguished settlers, pioneer banker and treasurer of Southern Kansas Railway Company, James Christopher Paul, rancher Judge J.L. Harrison, innkeeper James B. Wilkes, and Sheriff Oscar L. Thorpe. The oldest house in town. It was purchased in 1965 and restored as the Carson County Museum. Panhandle. From tent city to tent city in 40 years. 1886 to 1926. Admission is free, however, donations are always welcome. A letter from Temple, Houston. Written on stationery from the Paul Bank, this letter is to the Tutt family from Temple, Houston. Lawyer son of Texas, Hero Sam Houston, is the most prized possession of the Square House Museum. Temple Houston was the most famous lawyer of the Plains, and his legal counseling ranged from settlement of estates, theft of horses and cattle, to the more complicated questions of the eminent domain that involved the coming of the railroads, the fencing of the range, and the legal grazing of public lands. This Panhandle office was in the Paul Bank building. The bison hunt of 1870 brought hundreds of hunters, and with these long-range, accurate rifles, they destroyed the great herds. One hunter and two skinners could kill and skin 100 bison a day, but the average kill was probably less. The hides were shipped to St. Louis, and the bleached bones that covered the plains served as a grim reminder that the Indian staff of life was gone. The Indians, reduced to starvation, were sent to their assigned reservations, and the way was open for the creation of ranching empires. Later, when settlers came into this area, the bleached bones were gathered up, stacked as high as two-story buildings at the Panhandle, and shipped to St. Louis and New Orleans for fertilizer and refining of sugar. Proceeds from picking up bison bones enabled many of the pioneers to hold his claim and make the interest payments. U.S. Navy Model 1928 Thompson submachine gun. Al Holland, early settler on the White Deer's lands, was the second sheriff of Carson County after the town of Pampa was founded. Holland operated the Holland Hotel. Thomas Cree and his little tree. The Franklin Land and Cattle Company. The White Deer Lands, 1882 to 1957. the railroads. The Caboose stove coal scoop used on the Santa Fe. The flagman's lantern. This was used as a stop signal in later years and then as a brakeman's lantern. Memorial plate. The Tea Party. In a more intimate social setting from 1890 to 1901, this family is hosting a party of their own. The little girl in the pink is treating her doll to a nice cup of tea while her mother lays the baby down for a nap. Manners and decorum were taught to children through playtime so that they would one day be ready to host their own adult tea party. During this period, the woman was solely in charge of the household. In this scene, the little girl is watching and mimicking her mother. She is learning the skills that she will one day need to care for a family of her own. Pioneer Dugout. In the 1874 through 1888 era, the High Plains, the Sea of Grass, had no native timber, stone, or adobe building materials. Homes were dugouts, or if settlers' wagons went some 300 miles for lumber. Half dugouts. Dugouts were warm in the winter, cool in the summer. Some were carpeted and cloth lined. Some had a little extra room for the school teacher or other guests. The cooking and heating stoves burned buffalo chips, cow chips. This is an exact replica of a Carson County half dugout. This caboose, once office and nerve center for the train crews, was given to Panhandle because this city, 1887, had a distinction as the end of the line. Kansas, Southern, now Santa Fe, Railway. In late 19th and early 20th centuries, cowboys rode in the caboose to tend and water market, bound herds at intervals when train halted. A transport to the bright lights of Chicago, St. Louis, or Kansas City. The caboose held glamour beyond its workday's use. To wife and children back home, it returned the wanderer and the wondrous gifts he brought. The Santa Fe has over 6,000 estate railroad stoves in use. The Estate Stove Company was the first stove manufacturer to realize the importance of proper cooking and heating equipment in railroad service, and to build a line of stoves designed to afford the maximum economy, convenience, and safety. The caboose was built by American Car and Foundry, St. Charles, Missouri, 1928. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway. Car number 1703R. Empty weight, 54,500 pounds. Be aware, there's a $500 fine for climbing on top of the caboose and roof. The bank was all boarded up, couldn't see anything inside. The general store. As you can see in the back, it has a bank teller window. This is an intense game of checkers. It's been going on for years. And other things that were normally found in a general store. Next spot here is the dentist. The man in the dentist chair seems a little bit uneasy. This is the side window to the blacksmith shop. See a grinding wheel. On the back wall hangs branding irons. Looks like he's working in the back there in his forge. Print shop. It has a single page printing press. An apron hanging on the wall so the printer doesn't get ink on himself. Paper scattered around. The Santa Fe office. The real Panhandle depot is used as the city hall. As you can see, it's filled with items that would have been in the depot at the time. It'll be a minute. She's taking a telegraph. All aboard! Eclipse Windmill, patented 1867. George of White Deer Lands drilled the first water well in 1887 near present town site, White Deer, after unsuccessful attempt in 1886 by Franklin Land and Cattle Company. Windmill indispensable factor in settlement plains of Texas. The Eclipse mill, slow running, direct stroke, no gears, used for over 40 years. Conway Community Church. Residents of Conway, established 9 miles south of here in 1905, attended the non-denominational services in a relocated schoolhouse until the Union Church building was completed in 1912. It became an important gathering place for the Conway community and housed regular worship services until 1968. Membership in the Congregational dwindled, and the building fell into disrepair. Former church members and area volunteers donated thousands of hours to restore the structure to its historic condition and relocated here to the Square House Museum complex in 1991. Jail wagon, portable jail, one-way wagon, paddy wagon. Known by all three names, this vehicle was manufactured in 1880. One company making similar vehicles was Pauley Jail Company of St. Louis, Missouri, or the E.T. Barnum Company of Detroit, Michigan. Seen in the movies from the 1950s to the recent group of pirate movies, wagons like this were used for many purposes. This was supposedly used to transport convicts to remote areas in Carson County, to repair roads and bridges. Others remember convicts being loaded into the bed of a Model A Ford truck for transport, complete with ball and chain. After the oil boom in Boyer, people recall seeing the paddy wagon arrive on Sunday morning packed with miscreants from that town. Thank you for watching my video. I do have more for you to view. Just press on the button. And if you'd like to subscribe to stay up to date, you can push that button too.